Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today we are going to do a page-through review of, going to butcher the pronunciation, MACUAHUITL, a white box role-playing in the Aztec Empire. And um, as a consummate collector of tabletop role-playing games that are emulators of a particular culture, um, a historical event, or that really embrace the cultural, ethnic attitudes of a particular time and place, whether it is the ancient past, modern day, or the far future. I'm a fan of it, and this is one of those games. But beware that it also embraces some of what we today would call problematic elements. And but first, let's sit back, grab our snacks. Please, if you're able to be here live, you are the co-host of the show, so I will respond to many of your comments. But we're going to take a look at this newly released game. I did not back it on Kickstarter. I just purchased it on Drive-Thru RPG, and I've got my physical copy. But we're going to take a look at this, a creation from the YouTube channel, The Basic Expert. All right, so let's get into it. There is a pronunciation guide to this game, and instead of apologizing 80,000 times, let's do this up front. Um, it is a language that I'm not familiar with a pronunciation. I always use the improper syllable on the incorrect emphasis. So yeah, the pronunciations are going to be horrible. When in doubt, I'm going to refer to an uh, stateside descriptor for the same thing. For those who do not know, the MACUAHUITL is a Aztec sword. Um, there are images in here, so hopefully I'll be able to show one to you. And it is a obsidian blade edged club, and it is horrible. So this is a white box role playing the Aztec Empire, and it uses primarily a D20 and D6 dice for most of its adjudication, if not all of it. I never saw anything where it used the other polyhedrals, but maybe it's tucked in there somewhere. But this is a very brutalistic, 3d6 down the line OSR type of game, and we're going to take a look at. I'm going to do some page-throughing here, and we're going to take a look at some of the aspects of it and why it is that, for me personally, it draws me in. Especially the unapologetic look at the historical nature of it, and then we will of course take a look at the, like, how would we use this in our game if this is something that would inspire you, and it does inspire me. Now, I'm not a big fan personally of games that are specifically historical, right? Meaning like an emulator that is nothing but trying to be historically accurate. And yeah, pretty much late night Sunday. Yeah, couldn't even get my brain up. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I know that. Well, that's the other thing too, right? Like the Aztecs don't exist any longer, and I'm sure there are people who are genetic descendants of that culture, but it's like any dead culture or language or anything like that. Like it's a past remnant. Um, the individual that wrote this, the basic expert, admittedly knows that he comes from or has a lineage that ties back to that, but that's not the point, right? It's most history is lot. I've heard history described as jazz, like that. It's uncovering things until someone else uncovers yet something else. It's kind of cool to hear that. Oh yeah, yeah, that's the point. It says obsidian discs in a shaft of wood for whacking people. Cool as fuck, but always seemed like a bad idea because would the obsidian disc just break? It's brutal material, isn't it? Not only is it brutal, I've heard that it is razor sharp. So yeah, after a big battle, you would have to replace it. But I think that's the point, right? Like, I think the idea is like I carry a big stick and then that big ass stick is gonna beat your ass with it, right? Yeah, the breaking afterwards, I don't think you're alive to see the replacement parts. So anyway, these are all the people that worked on it. There are some sorry, I'm gonna stop here for a minute. In books, in movies, in graphic novels and things like that, sometimes there's a thing known as the promise. And in the beginning of a movie or television show or a comic book series or something like that, an anime, a good creator will give you a promise up front. That means like, is this going to be comedic? Is this going to be serious? Or will this be horror? Will this be objectification or anything? And this little piece of artwork right here with the human sacrifice and removing someone's heart and a god, a mutated like godling on the top of a temple, spewing blood and stuff. This is the promise of what you're going to find inside of this. Yeah, it's pretty horrible. Now here, the table of contents. Interesting how the table of contents is arranged, but I like it. It doesn't bother me at all. I love it. Here's the right up front. It gives you the pronunciation portion of it. You kind of have to remember about like the TL and the X and the C and the TZs together, and the creation of this game. Stresses and diphthongs and things like that. I can barely speak English, so I'm not going to get past that. It does talk about the dice and the type of dice, but primarily it does use a D20 and D6 dice pool, or dice, not necessarily a dice pool. Attributes and ability scores, a little bit out of a bit out of order than what we're used to, but this is back in White Box. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that the physical stats aren't kind of like combined together in the mental stats, but I'm surprised it's not in alphabetical order either. But I believe that's a throwback to the old White Box era. Then we get into alignment. We've seen hit points and alignment, things like that. One of the historical aspects of this is the time. Time is extremely important, accordingly to this, in the Aztec culture. And so there was a 360 day calendar, and also a 260 day calendar, and with that had a 52-year cycle, which was their 52-year cycle was kind of what we would consider a century for us. And time and calendars and the astrological things that taught the Aztecs how the gods would react to their behaviors and their culture is extremely important in this game, and I really like it. I like it. They believed, here it is, the Aztecs believed that the fourth sun and world ended the preceding world to their own because it fell into chaos and destruction. The second sun was also believed to be inhabited by corrupted men who did not honor the gods. This indifference to the divine caused the world to be flooded, the sun to go dark, and their world to end. The Mexica did all that they could to please the gods and avoid this terrible fate. Hence, the players must decide where their characters stand in the cosmic order. Do they align themselves with the status quo, opposing it, or remain indifferent? These alignments correspond to the traditional alignments of law, neutrality, and chaos. A lawful character adheres to and respects the established order. A neutral character may or may not prioritize the social structure and order. It is not their primary concern. On the other hand, a chaotic character directly opposes the order dictated by the gods and the hierarchical structure of Aztec society. Now you got to remember, because this is a fantasy realm where the gods are real, and whether you in your game feel that they're real or not, they believed that they were real. And so to prevent the world from collapsing, the sun going dark, and the gods basically crumpling up this world and throwing it away, to please the gods demand a tribute, and that tribute is human sacrifice. And so yes, there is a part of this, not part of this game. This is the game where you adventure out to collect human sacrifices so that the gods are pleased. Hey, heathen. Yeah, I agree. Wouldn't many of the people from the Peru Ecuador region be likely to be at least partially descended from Aztecs? I agree. And unapologetically, I'm sure many of them would be proud to be from that culture, because this is a snapshot of the era of that time for that reason. Yeah, and listen, I'm not a historian. I'm paging through a tabletop role-playing game here. So the differences and the overlap between Aztec, Incan, and Mayan, I couldn't tell you. Aztec aliens, maybe. There's space for that, right? There is space for that in here. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Ancient aliens and whatnot. All right, so remember, in this game, the order of the day is that if you are a lawful character, you want to go out and please the god to capture and create human sacrifices. Now, if that's the kind of thing that bothers you in a tabletop role-playing game, like to basically take innocent people, or maybe not so innocent, it doesn't mean you're literally going after innocent women and children, although you could. But you could also be punishing the enemies of your nation state, right? And collecting them and using them as human sacrifice. But I will show you, there's literally experience points. They're actually called status points, given if you participate in a human sacrifice. And it is unapologetically part of this game. And I would say that as a world builder and tabletop world builder who honestly is against all of that, what I like about having that implemented in this game is that if the gods are real and they will destroy the world, is this the kind of thing that a player would want to choose? Because you could be against this whole thing, but the rest of the society isn't. And so you could absolutely play the rebels of sorts. Absolutely, positively, like the movie Apocalypto. You could be one who's just like, I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be captured. And our asses are on the run from the established order that wants to grab us and use us for sacrifice. So this is a 2-page spread, by the way. And your zodiac sign is extremely important in this. So as this being a spread, if this was in a book, you will notice on the right of the screen, of course, yes, it is turned sideways. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I can turn it sideways. So this is the zodiac sign and how it is depicted in this game. And there are phases, and you roll 2d20. Whatever phase you were born on, that becomes your astrological sign. So right up front, in an OSR white box kind of thing, your character's birth is random. You don't get to choose how you were born, and the people believed that whatever astrological sign you were born under, that is the kind of person you will be. Excuse me. Whether certain gods will bless you, whether you are lucky or unlucky, whether you are a bad omen or a good portent or something like that, you know, whether you're going to have a long life, short life, this is your generalization. And so when you roll these on these phases, to the very left, these are the names of the gods at that time that will rise among something called a Tricina or Tricina, and they have a 13-day cycle as each one takes precedent during that time. It's a little confused. Rest assured, if you roll 2d20 and roll down the left side and across the top and down the side, you'll find out where you belong and where your character belongs. And so if we follow this at the very top here, you'll see it's either, I don't know, it's a Cipitali or Chepachali is number 1. And then you will see that with the number 1, if you follow the phase straight down, it goes at 1, 2, 3, 4 down to 13, and then starts all over again. And then if you read it across, the numbers, while they don't necessarily go in a particular order, certain numbers are lucky, other numbers are not lucky. So like 1 is unlucky, but 8 is lucky, 2 is lucky, but then 9 isn't, 3 isn't, 10 it's a whole thing, and it's cool. To me, it's really cool. If a little bit dark, and so yeah, even in character creation, your life may not be the best thing in the world. And so here are the Tricina effects and when you were born. Now there is some option to change your birth. So when a child was born, the parents can wait up to 4 days to name them. And once you get your name, when you roll on the calendar, you can move ahead up to 4 days to kind of, you can kind of like game the system so that, but both historically, like culturally and game wise, you can kind of game the system to try to get a better outcome. But for the most part, it's like you may not get that. Each of these gods is related to a particular part of life, like reeds, crocodile, death, rain, jaguar, grass, deer, and you may fall into that. And of course, it begins with 1 because the day that they begin their reign across the skies, across the cosmos, it begins with 1, and then the numbers, while not going in order, there are 13 days. Really cool. Let me pick one. Let's pick one here. So let's go with MACUAHUITL, the eagle, and we're going to pick this one right here. An unlucky period. A character born during this period must reduce strength, dexterity, or constitution, player's choice, by 2 to a minimum score of 3. That's it. That's what you get. Sorry. Now, mind you, there are some other gamified elements in it when it comes to the eagle, because as you adventure, you may be adventuring on that particular day. And if you adventure on that day and you are part of the eagle, maybe because you have thin bones like an eagle, maybe you're just tall and lanky or something, and that's why you have reduced stats. But during the day of the eagle, during that 13-day progress, you might be very lucky or gain things. And so here are the days, the lucky and unlucky days, and it talks about how they're numbered. 3, 7, 10, 11, 12, and 13 were regarded as favorable, while days numbered 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9 were deemed unlucky. Yeah, and of course you might not want to adventure on an unlucky day. And there's lucky day boons and unlucky day boons. Let me get to your comments here. Can't see them. Says great artwork there. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Nameless who said, should we wait 4 days to give him a lucky day? Nah, he's got a funny shaped head. Yeah. Boom boom, I love it. Who says great artwork there. Yeah, 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 yeah. And for those who are new here, YouTube and Twitch comments do come through. I'm just popping back and forth between it. Nameless, you mean a fantasy TTRPG isn't historically accurate? Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, it's really cool. He said, when I hear this, I'd opt for Dex, reduced Dex. I'm unlucky, hence I'm a klutz. Yep, why not? Why the hell not? Now, in this game, there's not, like I said, this is a white box redo, and I love what was changed in it. That makes perfect sense. So in this, there are status points. Status points are like experience points, but status points are also like gold pieces. So when you go out to adventure, you can use the points of status when you come back to the culture, and then you gain things because of your status. Also, you can spend those status points to gain things like material things, like whether you want to build a temple, have followers, get your obsidian edged sword, the MACUAHUITL, and get it repaired, or have laminate armor made for you, or things like that. So status, and remember, the status in this world is a social credit. So it may not be gold that you're bringing back. It might be captives for the human sacrifices and things like that. So now, once you spend your status points for goods and services, you can't use that to advance. If you use it to advance, you can't spend it the other way. So once you spend it for that purpose, it's gone. It's been used. You can't double dip. But yeah, it's really cool. Here, of course, here's the character sheet. Extremely simple. We've seen this before in the OSR. Your stats, and there are 2 categories for stats, because your stats might move based on like wounds or disease or benefits from the gods and whatnot. So your stats, your beginning stats, may not end up being your modified other stats because of your capabilities and things. And then next to, over by the white box part, you have your SP bonus, your status percentage bonus. For those who don't remember, if your stats are particularly high, you'll get a 5% or 10% bump increase because you're just that strong or smart or charismatic or whatnot. You have your status points that's current and how much you spent. Of course, you have your movement, your AC, hit point, saving throw, and attack bonus. And then we have the attack matrix. So this doesn't use THAC0, but based on your character class, your ability to hit certain armor classes will progress in a different manner. So all your bonuses are all already added up, and you can start adding some of your other bonuses in here. So you can just put down exactly what you need to roll, right? So you get all your bonuses, penalties together, and just add it up and then put it down there. And then there's spell-like abilities. When we get into spells, man, it's pretty wild. This piece of artwork is a Jaguar warrior, and he's holding the obsidian sword, or obsidian edged sword, for the culture. Now we're going to get into character classes, and here we go. Here's the ladies holding somebody down. This might even be a child or something like that, ripping the heart out. Oof, oof. Allow me to read this. This is a note about female characters, about the gender-fied portion of this game, and allow me to read this out again, unapologetic. In Aztec society, women were not considered equal to men. While this historical accuracy may not align with contemporary values, MACUAHUITL aims for a heightened mythical portrayal while maintaining some level of historical accuracy. Consequently, the majority of characters will be male. However, women can potentially assume different classes, such as the Pochteka or Nahuali, as female priestesses were believed to possess a unique connection to the divine. It is important to note that historically, women did not participate as fighters or warriors on the battlefield. Referees and players have the flexibility to disregard this historical fact, but the game assumes a somewhat historically accurate approach within the established rules. And again, this goes back to, mind you, I don't necessarily agree with like not having specific genderized roles, but again, I don't care, right? The point is that you can't police someone's creativity. So if I were to use the game and someone says, "Hey, I'd like to play female warrior," at my table, I could very easily go, "Yeah, sure, why not?" Because there's no stat changes or anything like that. But if you and your players are at your table and that's what you agree to, why not? But the opposite of this also makes sense in here, in the sense of like, well, if the male characters don't have access to magic, maybe that's just what you play, right? That's the thing. You're a warrior, you don't have access to magic. Although technically there is a magic using class in here for men, but One Eye Heathen says, I already have a character in mind, a person who begins as a believer but to a fault, overly cautious, so holds himself back but still strong, smart, etc. Their journey would take them away from the status quo, and they would have to decide to give up much of their beliefs and advance as an individual, or continue playing it safe and not growing. Exactly. And remember, this is a fantasy realm. So when someone says, are the gods real, and will the world end if we stop sacrificing and giving tribute to the gods? The answer to the question is yes. Meaning, like, do they exist? Yes. Do they not exist and it's just in people's minds? Then the answer is yes as well. And so, yeah, answering the question, what if you're a rebel and you realize, like, oh, I don't want this to be part of our society, but the world will end? Well, guess what? You'll know at the end of all life in existence, right? Yeah, so I want black sabers having obsidian star. Yeah, thank you there, Drew. Yeah. When I Heathen says, I love that approach. I'd like to play a female character to face unique challenges, but as soon as any player wants it hand waved, boom, no sexist Aztecs, fun takes priority. Yeah, and see, and the thing is, this is my argument. My argument about not being able to gatekeep other people's imagination works both ways. It's a double-edged sword, okay? So if you're someone who wants to play this as historically accurate, you can't stop other people from not doing it. And vice versa, right? Like, if you're someone who sees a table of people playing it inaccurately, yeah, you can be like, I'm playing it the way it should be. Okay, well, it's up to you. I mean, and it doesn't mean I have to like it. I'm just saying that you just can't do it. This is an image of an eagle warrior. So eagle warriors in this game are the equivalent of rogues and thieves. They're quick, they're agile, they can hide, they can leap from trees and leap from surprise. And so their primary attribute is dex. Then there's the jaguar warriors. Now remember, this is as a historical emulator, the warriors that embrace this truly feel like they are one with that animal. And so some of their abilities as they gain higher levels, could an eagle warrior possibly like leap further than any known human? Maybe if the gods are nice. Could a jaguar warrior run, faster than a horse or something? Maybe. That's up to you guys. Jaguar warriors are like the fighter types in this, and I love it. I love the artwork and the immersion that it brings across. There are merchants. Merchants are actually quite important. In a group, a merchant is a little bit of a bard and a ranger type. They are known to travel very far, actually much further than the eagle and jaguar warriors of this culture. So, and they collect a lot of languages and are able to buy and trade and record the status of others. So having a merchant in your group, what's the pronunciation? Pochteka or Potechcha? I don't butcher language, but yeah, they're good with diplomacy, negotiations, where everybody wants to like murder, kill. They're like, well, hold on. Why don't we just ask these people for something? So yeah, being a merchant is more of the talky character. Nahuali are the spiritual leaders and practitioners of magic in Aztec society. They were believed to have the power to shapeshift into animals or other forms, allowing them to communicate. Most of, not all of them, but most of them were female. This is another part of white boxing and OSR where balance doesn't matter. So they have innate spellcasting and shape-shifting abilities from first level. So right here, down at the very bottom, of course they don't wear armor like many spellcasters. The Nahuali is a shapeshifter and can transform into a jaguar, and this is for first level. Jaguar, 4 hit dice. Let me go up here. I can't remember all of them. Jaguar, dog, turkey, owl, or ghost woman. The duration of the transformation is equal to the Nahuali's level in turns. In the ghost woman form, the Nahuali is immaterial, immune to mundane weapons, but susceptible to magical weapons and spells. This ability is recharged after a full 8-hour rest. If the Nahuali is brought to 0 hit points in this form, the Nahuali is slain and the body is immediately transforms back into his or her form. It doesn't say that if you play a male character that you become a male ghost. No, you become a female ghost woman. And that comes from first level. You can just turn into a ghost. That's kind of cool. It's powerful. Hey, guess what? Guess what? Male characters that like, we have to play certain gender roles or whatever. Well, guess what? You can't do it. So I like this little fact that like you could change it to like a wolf or a dog. There's probably I can think of some reasons why you would want to turn into a turkey. Because maybe you want to hide amongst other wild turkeys or sneak into a place that seems a bit unassuming as opposed to being a wolf or a dog. Of course, being like an owl, maybe you'd definitely fly overhead and oversee a thing. But the Otomi are mercenaries. Again, these are a little closer to rangers than the merchant, but bow and arrows, mercenaries, ambushers. We have the shorn ones, and the shorn ones are, if I had to make an analogy, they are more like paladins or magic casting fighters. They're elite warriors, known for their distinct hairstyle, where they're pretty much a shaved head except for like a top knot or a gathered hair together. And they do have some spell casting, and those are the classes. And then we talk about money and status. I'm going to get to your comments in just a minute. Sorry. Yes, it does tell you all of the weapons and their names for damages. You'll see on this damage matrix D6, and it's usually D6 with a -1 or D6 +1 or just a plain D6. Here's the thing that adds to it to make it more lethal. All damage is exploding. Roll a 6, roll again, and keep adding until you don't roll a 6 any longer. So yeah, exploding damage. Ugh. Pretty brutal. Yeah, look non-threatening with turning into a turkey. Definitely. Yes, I'm trying. All right, going backwards. There we go. Also, yeah, Drew says also, I think there's a female warrior goddess in Aztec culture. So to claim there have no women warriors seems not necessarily historically accurate. There's always, I agree with you, there's always an exception to the rule when using the words always or never is usually never accurate, right? Which, does that make me inaccurate? Yeah, I mean, listen, there has been nothing preventing people from like picking up weapons or learning things in reality. So to say that never is a thing, nah, right? I agree. Now, would you say majority? Nah, but I wouldn't. In my own game, I wouldn't care. But there are some people who get butthurt about something like that. It feels like someone imposed their patriarchal views of colonialism into these people. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a historian, so I wouldn't really care. I mean, and remember, culturally, people can believe something even if that thing has been disproven. Yeah, he says women warriors is a pretty nuanced and interesting topic. Nomadic societies on the steppe had them, Rome did not. Then again, there were women who fought in more standard armies pretending to be men. Yeah, exactly. And then Viking cultures, exactly. Like to say never could never be true, right? I mean, all it would take is one person to pick up a weapon and go like, hey, listen, all the dudes are dead, we're gonna have to defend ourselves, and then boom, you can't tell me that never happened. I get upset with people who either outright deny women warriors because, neckbeards, and other people's knee-jerk reaction to them. Yeah, exactly. I would say the more codified military becomes the fewer women part of it. Yeah, that is why you can see in earlier eras of Japan more women warriors or the like with the Vikings. Exactly. Of course, necessity always had women pick up weapons when needed. Hell yeah. You can see that even in times of Napoleonic Wars. Yep, when all the men went away to war, guess who had to sit back and defend themselves? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then again, human beings are hard. We are extremely horrible at percentages. So if there was only 1%, of the people who, women that were warriors, then that's a huge number, right? So we often think 80% is 100%. Yeah. If you say something's more likely than not, then we often think that the not didn't exist, but it's not true. So here's weapons and armor. It does talk about repairing the armor and weapons and the obsidian pieces in the MACUAHUITL sword. Also talks about like war suits and laminate armor, wooden shields and light shields. I think a lot of the shields were like made from animal fibers and skins and things like that. Here we have followers. You can gain followers. This is White Box, right? This is OSR. So you're definitely going to need, what is it? Followers, retainers, henchmen. I can't remember the other two, but these are followers that you can pay for in your status. And again, this isn't about paying for it in gold. It's the status of you when you return back home. And so many of these followers would want to follow you, or the society needs them home, but because of your status, you can request them and you mark off those status points that you gained, and then those people will have to leave the culture because you demanded that they leave with you or whatever. Right? And you could play this as draconian or as egalitarian as you wish. And then of course there's a loyalty score. If you start using people as human shields, a lot of those people aren't going to be nice to you. All of the language names for all the tools and whatnot. I do not know how to pronounce this word for the hammer. Oof. TEPOZTLATEHUILONI. Whew. Put that into a Google translator or something. Here's another one, sacrifice. So here's something that I love about the spell casting. Okay, so there are spells, and here in the spells, you will see that the names of many of the spells have the names of the gods attached to them. That's not an accident. That's not just a random, hey, let's give the name, the spell a funky name. It actually applies to the gods or god or gods of that time. which means that when you're adventuring on the calendar, if you are within the god's reign of that particular period of time, you have a greater chance of being able to request the spells. So there are no wizards. This is not wizards. You have to beseech the gods, and whether they grant you that ability or not, whether they grant you a gift or a blessing or something like that. So you have to ask them. So some of the spells won't, like, for example, if you're going to war, maybe a healing spell may not be given to you because it runs counter to the god of war because you're traveling on that day. How it's done here is reaction rolls. The old style reaction rolls for NPCs are now put in with the gods, and so you will roll dice to get a reaction from the gods and whether they give that to you or not. And there are modifiers to this. Is it a lucky day, unlucky day? Who is the person requesting it? So remember I talked about picking someone and you're the eagle and you get a reduction on your stats because of eagle. Well, if you want to request a spell from the eagle god, you might get a bonus for that. And so there is a reaction roll. And see here on the reaction table, if you roll 2 or less, the spell is denied and cannot be petitioned again for 1d6 days. So, mind you, there's no fireball. But if you want to request a fireball and you got denied, sorry. You roll die 5 days, sorry, you can't even request one. If you roll a 3 to 5, your spell is denied. If you roll 6 to 8, it's uncertain. You roll again, petitioning further takes another hour. And then 9 to 12, requested spell granted. So there isn't, like, you do have spell slots, but you gotta be careful because there's only so many you can request. So like if you only have one 5th level spell, you go to request it, spell denied, sorry. Yeah, you get to try that once. You could try another one, but whatever. So you don't have to write them down, you don't have to memorize them, you just request them. And I like it a lot. I like this idea a whole lot. I think it really, what a very simplistic thing to do for world building, and I love it. I wish it was brought more into the modern aspect of gaming, but with a cost added to it. But it has. Shadow Dark has the same thing where you can cast spells over and over and over again, as long as you roll high enough. Because if you don't succeed, that spell goes and it's burnt out. You gotta, you don't have access to it any longer. And I like a cost for magic. It makes it feel mysterious, special, powerful, and of course, the player or players that have access to it, everyone's sitting back like, twiddling their thumbs like, come on, they're like, make the roll, yeah, healing spell or something like that. So things like that. And mind you, this is OSR, so a lot of the spells are not like, it's the description of the spell is, some of it can be up for interpretation other than a couple of bonuses here and there, like a +1, +2 to damage or whatever, things like that. Other than that, a lot of it is just like, hey, you get to do this thing. So let me move ahead. Maybe I might pick one of these. Here we go. First level spell, Veil of Smoke. First level, ranged self, duration 2 rounds or 2 minutes. Components, a small piece of charcoal, which is consumed during the casting of the spell. Description, this spell creates a thick veil of smoke around the caster, making it difficult for enemies to see him. When cast, the caster is surrounded by a dense cloud of smoke that persists for the duration of the spell. While within the veil of smoke, all attacks have a -4 penalty to hit the caster, but the caster likewise has the same penalty to hit any other target in the smoke. I like that. It costs you something. It's like, do you really want to do this thing? Because you can't see out of your own smoke, right? It's literal smoke. So, I like it. Adventuring. Let's get back to some of get this piece of artwork up here. Let's get back to, let me get to the status experience table, because it's right. There we go. And let's leave this right here and get to some of your comments. Sorry about that, guys. What is game mechanic for playing soccer? Oh man. Yeah, Nameless Spook says, I have no idea about Aztec society, but several North American peoples had several genders that people freely chose, and that's how the tribe saw them. Yes. It's in Coyote and Crow, which I have. Second Spirit, something like that. Yeah, they had different genders, and they had a name for the people with different genders. Nameless. Yeah. I know the Aztecs had a guy who would assume the role of a god and walk around playing the flute for a year and then got sacrificed. There is that in this game. So not all human sacrifices were forced upon capturing people from the outskirts. There were some people who were dressed up as the god. And remember, this culturally, it wasn't like the people enjoyed necessarily sacrificing people as like psychopaths. This was to honor the gods. Many people were pretty sad that they had to give up some of their loved ones, and there were other individuals who of course would volunteer for that, and they would dress up the sacrificial people as the gods before they sacrificed them. So there were some people who willingly went or were voluntold to do so, just like in like the Viking cultures and things like that. So yes, it really is the perfect fantasy language, isn't it? Genuinely foreign sounding, not just some rehashed European stuff like in Forgotten Realms. Yeah, absolutely. It really does sound and immerses you into a different thing. That's why in the thumbnail it says not D&D. Like, this is fantasy, it's not D&D. Oh, man. All right, so taking a look at this status point rewards, and mind you, this could have been brought in. Actually, you know, I'm going to increase the size of this if you don't mind. There we go. Center this and bring this down a little bit. So this is the kind of thing that could have been more widely used in Dungeons and Dragons and other fantasy D20 from White Box on. But unfortunately, these points weren't written down next to things. And what I mean by this is awarding experience based on things other than killing monsters. And because, mind you, this has always been in the game since its inception, but because these numbers were never written down next to like avoiding a trap or saving people or, rescuing people or fulfilling the ritual or whatever the case might be, people think that, well, experience points are only given for monsters because it was written in a monster stat. So here we have, killing and defeating enemies, you get the base SP, status points, or like XP, right? But if you capturing human enemies alive, you get the base points times 5. That's pretty cool, because in most role-playing games, do they really give you like how creative are you going to be to capture other people? Most role-playing games, they give you lots of stuff to murder kill, not so much to capture people. So you're gonna have to be real creative. Rescuing captives from enemies, 250. Conceiving a child, character must be married, 250 status points. They don't go into any detail about that, and I like that. Like, well, when or how would you, like, this is completely role-playing centered, right? First, you got to be married, which means somewhere in your gaming thing to gain these points, someone's going to have to say, hey, I'd like to have an NPC or maybe another player character and be married to them, and then conceive a child. Wait, what? Successfully raiding an enemy village. Now look at some of these other ones down here. that are really high. Enemy village up to 1,000. Discovering a new source of precious materials like stone, gold, silver, jade, obsidian, 1,000. 1,500. Successfully performing or taking part in a sacrifice ritual. 1,750. Successfully defending a city from attack. Escaping capture from enemies, 1,000. Another 1,750. Successfully raiding a large settlement or city. Guess what? Doing some of this stuff above is going to get your city attacked. Pretty much, right? Yeah, because they're going to probably try to come after you and capture some of your people too. So, discovering a new place or lands, brokering an alliance with another city or tribe. So there is, it's not just all about murder, killing. There is some kind of like brokering a deal, discovering things, blah blah blah. So, yeah, I'm for it. I'm so for it. I love it. For this game, I love it for this game, and I appreciate the fact that it's like not apologetic for that. And of course, again, you can't police someone's how I would creatively use it. No one can police how I would use it. So, yeah, could I have female warriors? I don't care. I would have it in my game. I could care less. It wouldn't bother me at all, and it actually has no mechanical effect on the game anyway. Here we have power and influence about making like large temples and strongholds. The top level is 10th level, so name level. Remember back in the old days, name level. So yeah, there's that. A character recovers 1 hit point per day of full rest. 4 weeks of full rest will recover all the character's hit points. Remember, rolling damage dice explodes, and I didn't go over this. So every time you gain a level, you re-roll your hit points. Now, your hit points don't reduce, but you may not gain any hit points. So that's another part of lethality in this game. So let's say at first level you have 5 hit points, and then the next level you roll, like, instead of 1d6, you roll 2d6, and you roll it and you roll a 3. Well, you still stay at 5 hit points. So anything up to 5, it stays there. If you roll higher than that, then it just becomes your new thing. But you re-roll all the dice for your hit points. I'm like, yeah, I like that. Exploration rules. Here we are, random encounters. Here we go, randomness, sandboxing, randomness, finding people out there. Because, I don't know anything very much about this culture, so it kind of helps you fill in things. We have discovered locations in a bunch of tables, and basically they're stacked tables. You roll on one table, roll again on another table, roll again on another table, put it all together, and you have your sandbox, right? You get to go out there in your hex map or point crawl or something like that, and you can fill in the gaps. So, like number 5, a majestic waterfall plunging into a deep pool. Number 12, hidden grove filled with rare medicinal plants. On table number 2, number 5 says a cliffside fortress once belonging to an enemy tribe. Number 12, a hidden oasis surrounded by deadly sandstorms. So, definitely jungles, plains, mountains, deserts, all the stuff put together. Rivers, more just another D20 tables here to add things into describing what's there. And I've said, you guys know, I've said this so many times on the channel, using the wilderness as a dungeon. It literally says that. Here we go. Adventures primarily focus on wilderness exploration, encounters with enemy warriors, and occasional encounters with monsters. Referees should treat the jungles and wilderness as the dungeon itself. Natural boundaries, such as game trails flanked by tall trees and challenging terrain in jungles and forests, resemble traditional dungeon walls. Mountain passes cutting through canyons or ravines with sheer cliffs on either side also serve as dungeon walls. A dense wall of trees can lead to open glades or fields, acting as rooms within the wilderness dungeon. Same thing, same exact thing. And I've said this plenty of times. I'm not the only one. Nah. I'm being a dumbass. Name was, oh man, here we go. See, going back to your comments. Cyan, Nameless Spook says, Cyan has an Aztec pantheon that is big on sacrifice as well. It makes it interesting when there is only one of them in the party. Drew mentions, I can imagine that some people really were looking forward to be sacrificed. No need to force them into this, since there are always people who feel like existence is suffering. Exactly. And I can imagine, how many peoples, we have many peoples who have gods that embrace this, that reflect upon the horrific life of ourselves. So many of our gods, even till today, even our monolithic religions, embrace the suffering, right? Or there is a place where the suffering's taken away, but right now you're going to go through it. Nameless Speak, I do really like how OSR stuff just assumed you were only adventuring on the weekend. You had a life the rest of the week. Yeah. Hey, there's stuff you got to do. Yeah, getting married, having kids. Like the OSR was basically, when you weren't adventuring, your characters were still doing stuff. So yeah, they're very, very much like, although that is funny though, like, yo, man. There's a reason why Christianity had the flagellants, or Islam has suicide bombers. Some people want to die or suffer for their religion. Yeah. And many of those people have been celebrated, right? Sin eaters, the flagellants, like there's a lot of reasons why the people who suffer walking on glass, denying ourselves nutrients, food and water for periods of time, things like that. Yeah. Cyan. A massive thick jungle seems like it would make a way better dungeon than a regular temperate mixed forest, don't you think? With a canopy and roots and 10-foot ferns, it seems like a tunnel system. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And mind you, like, you can just make this point crawling. Like, you don't have to literally have 10-foot wall, like 10-foot squares, but an open glade would be the equivalent of a room, and just use a point crawl. Okay, well, it takes you 2 hours to hack through the jungle to get to this waterfall, or get to a river, or get to a ravine, and each one just becomes the next room. The hallways are just you traveling, and traveling could be 5 minutes or could be 3 days, but the travel could have pit traps, natural pits, natural things like that. So yeah, absolutely. When a heathen says yes, well, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to there. All right, okay. What page are we on? 37 of 93. Okay, real quick. So, random encounters. There's bunches of tables. I just want to show you some of these tables. Wet season, dry season, cold/warring season. I wonder what that means. I didn't read a reason why. I bet the cold season near the equator allows one to operate during the height of the sun. That's my reasoning, and I'm gonna stick to it. I don't think it's snow. I think it's the cold warring season is that you can operate for longer periods of time. The underworld. These people did not like to go into the underworld. It was always known to be dangerous, and where evil people and mysterious spirits and monsters lived. So going into caves and living and going down deep into caves was not a thing you desired. So going into the underworld was like walking into a different world. So if you want to embrace the mysticism, you could literally have a cave that literally goes to another world, and then they come back out of it. Here are NPC generation. There's names, male, female, gender neutral names, social classes and professions. So we can get an idea of who and what the people were like. Attitudes. I like this, a D100 table for the attitudes, not just like 5. There's different attitudes like curious, deceitful, fearless, merciful, superstitious, humble, greedy. I like that. I like the mix too. And then there's combat encounters and reaction rolls. What do you do? Here's a great picture again of the MACUAHUITL. I'm pronouncing it. I'm sticking. I was able to get the pronunciation out, so I'm gonna stick to that. Yeah. Talks about the damage and surprise, initiative. Initiative in this is real simple. Roll a d6, highest number wins. That's your side. After each side goes, re-roll initiative again. And as a referee, you can decide whether there's any modifiers to it. Pretty simple. And then these are the attack matrices for way back in ye olden days. Depending on your class, your attack matrices would change. So that's what they are here. So depending on your level, some of your modifiers would change. And if you notice, the Eagle Warrior's level is different than the Jaguar Warrior's level. So while the numbers look the same, they aren't necessarily the same. So a Jaguar Warrior's numbers are better because when they're at level 1, they're different than level 2. And Eagle Warrior, level 1 and 2, they're exactly the same. So, yeah, and that's how it's, you get the, anyway, it's already, the math is already done for you. Then it talks about damage rolls, damage determined by rolling a d6. There's some modifiers, and then boom, it can get even higher than that because of exploding damage. And then here, no one fears to die in war. This is our glory. This is your command, O giver of life. And of course, we have all of our chapters here. Herbalism chapter, which is really cool. Absolutely, positively. I think this is, I think some herbalism, people love, what is it? Alchemists and alchemy. I feel like herbalism should be a thing that's available. Characters finding things in the woods, adventuring, giving them an excuse to go out there, like finding soap and water medicines and all those kind of things, and the names of plants for drinking things, poisons, mushrooms. Oh yeah. Like here, this is something very simple here, right? So, and mind you, this isn't really a gamifiable thing, but a role-playing thing. So, I'm not going to pronounce the word, but mushrooms, right? These are round oyster-looking mushrooms, okay? It is tender and can be cooked and used as a remedy that restores 1d6 minus 2 hit points. All right. It is tasty and savory as well. It is inedible raw, however. That little line, it is inedible raw, however, means that, guess what? You can't just snatch it off a tree or find it and then eat it. You have to stop to cook it. And that's just a really simple thing to add in the game. Also, restores 1d6 minus 2 hit points. Guess what? You could actually bother getting it, sit down, cook it, and not get healed any hit points, which I like as well. I mean, if you want to default to like you get a minimum of 1, I wouldn't argue with you in your game to do that. I'd go with the you don't gain anything, or hell, you might even get negative hit points and you might lose 1 from throwing up or something. Yeah. But anyway, I dare you right now out loud to speak this word. How many letters is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 letters. I'm sure it's a phrase. This is an ashen-colored herb that grows in dry lands, grasslands, and forests. It can help with digestion when one experiences stomach issues and discomfort. Ooh, I just brought that up. It can be used to dispel some other poisons due to this property. Perform as a save with a +1 modifier when used this way. Sounds kind of cool. Heck, I might even just not even allow a roll and just be like, yeah, you take this stuff and the poison that you had before that's debilitating you, you just vomit it all up, or it helps you digest it down and shit it out the other end. Tonto Chito, shit. Seems very alien, and I love it. Monsters. Here we are with monsters of myth, monster description, how to read them out. Oops, shit. Monster attack matrix, some details about monsters. You've seen this before. Magic resistance, monster movement and saving throws for them. You can make up your own. And there's a bunch of other things. Bears, giant coati, crocodiles, horned lizards. And of course you can, I mean, this is OSR, BX style, actually before BX. So you can just translate them over. All you really need are hit points, an armor class, some damage dice, throw in some like special thing like grappling, poison, special senses, tarantulas, giant tarantulas, and then of course humans. Got to have some humans. Got to capture some humans, sorcerers and bandits, warrior eagles. Hell, you could even you could even go through the. Is this a sacrifice? Oh, it's being grabbed by its tail. Warrior being grabbed. A shorn one, I believe. Yep, shorn one. Drowning somebody else. Some mythological monsters out here as well. I listened to an interview with the basic expert, and he was was asked, will this game have European settlers like the Spanish conquistadors? And he says, well, it was only for a short time before they were wiped out when they arrived, but it very much could incorporate that too, right? And this doesn't have to take place on Earth. I mean, if the people didn't believe they were on what we would consider modern day Earth, that doesn't mean, that also means in your world, this could be an interstitial time and place. Man of second skin. That would be freaky to see somebody putting on somebody else's skin. I love it. Well, anyway, lastly, we've got treasure and some magic items and weapons. Now there are some magic weapons that don't have any bonuses. So you could have a magic weapon that is a +0 magic weapon. So there is that, like, because some enemies can only be hit by magic, and the bonuses and penalties are very small. +1, +2, +3 at the most. Unusual magic weapons and descriptions, you get to roll a bunch of them, and some abilities or things you might want to add to them, especially if they're assigned to some of the gods. They and nearly all of them have some relationship with gods or monsters or mythological beings and things like that. So it really embeds them into the world. And then here's the sacred calendar that's empty, so you can use this for like use a table to blow to mark off days of the sacred calendar. So when you guys aren't adventuring and you get together the next week to game, or next 2 weeks or something like that, you can literally say, okay, you guys were traveling for 10 days. It is now 10 days further into the calendar, and this is the day you're adventuring on. And you may not have a choice about that. That'd be kind of cool as well, if you want to do it that way. Or just roll randomly each time you get back together again and keep track of it. So, and the appendix and all the words, how to pronounce them, because it's going to be rough. And then of course there's a little map here of this period within. This is a city, and then a little map to show where the place is at, and historically you could place it somewhere in the world if you can put it in the real world. And then we are done. And here's all the backers. All right, real quick, getting back to the front cover. Let's pop this up real huge here and see what you guys have to say. I know it went pretty long here. And boom. Oh, you always become the fun guy. Yeah. I really want my characters to participate in a soccer match. That'd be awesome. I would definitely do that. Name of Spook says, props for the dedication to pronunciation. I'd have just zoomed in on the screen. Yeah, oh my goodness. Well, thanks. Yeah. And mind you, there is a guide here, so there's a little bit of that too. Could maybe at least an underworld jungle. I like that. Yep. Yeah, cold season could be what we call the rainy season. Yep, I agree with you there. Yeah, our cold season up here up north in the States would be their rainy season. Um, Maybe what's it called? Monsoon season, hurricane season. Oh, agreeing about the jungle dungeon. Yep, I'm definitely there. I love jungle. Like I love using the natural environment and just because in our sphere of tabletop gaming, it's like, how do we do overland? It's like, just make it a dungeon. Just use the same stuff. It's not a big deal, right? Yeah, exactly. And of course, people can move from one place to another. But okay, so lastly, let me let you guys go. I just wanted to introduce you guys to this game. I appreciate its existence, and I'm inspired by it. To be honest with you, the air quotes problematic elements of it, I appreciated it existing for what it is, and the basic expert who created it, I believed, mind you, as a person who's an armchair historian, if I even want to, I don't even know if I categorize myself as having any historical accuracy at all. I appreciate what's put in here, and I think it's a glow up. Like, it's a shout out to, like, a slow clap to, like, to that era. I mean that culture and stuff. I think the people who are from there, I hope they would look at this and go, yeah, I'm feeling this. Now, mind you, I look at this the same way I would look at, for anyone who's looking at this and goes, well, human sacrifice, like, why would I have that in my tabletop role-playing game? I think that's wrong. Let me point you to the movie version of the Spartans, the 300. Remember 300? Most people, while we were encouraging our protagonists in the movie 300, most people forget the fact that in the opening scenes of that movie, they showed people giving their children to someone looking over their kids with the funny heads and tossing babies over a cliff. And the Spartans were defending their culture that did this thing, right? Now, yes, maybe they were giving their kids because maybe there was a small chance their kids would rise up in this culture. But to have to give your kid over to some dude that's just like, yeah, he's got a funny looking head, and dashes their brains in the rocks below, I don't know how just that is in a society, right? But was this a historical thing? I don't know. But in a fantastical world, yeah. And they were the protagonists of that story. So I look at this world the same way. Like, yes, compared to us today, problematic, of course. But I like the question of, what if the gods in your world would end if you didn't honor them? If you didn't sacrifice to them the very lives that they granted to you on their very whim, in the hands of angry gods, they would end the world. What would your character do? Like, what would you as a collective do together? And what judgments, or what would you do against the rest of society that's like, yeah, we need to do this thing? And also, the idea that you can throw in a lot of nuance as you want. The people who are want to be willing subjects, the NPCs that the players are like, no, I don't want you to sacrifice yourself, but they're willing to do it. The opposite of the enemies that want to come after you. The movie Apocalypto was literally based around this kind of thing. Innocent people out in the jungle, tribal people just doing their own thing, living their own lives, and here come the jaguar and eagle warriors who captured them, and one of our main protagonists goes and tries to get back their loved ones and rescue them and escape from bondage to get back home and all that. Hey, play the game that way. Also, this could be an interstitial time. I mentioned that interstitial, meaning like you could use this as the basis for a history of your world before the world became something else. So the people here thought there were 4 worlds before today. What were the worlds like before then? And what will they be like afterwards? And so you could role play in the ancient history of your own world. And these are the the ancient weapons and crypts and the weird alien language almost that's not spoken any longer. And so this could be that history, that prehistory. This could also be a post-history, right? You're playing these tribal people in a world that doesn't remember what the world was like before. They just hear it about from storytellers and rumors, and playing over the ashes and the ruins of the world that happened before. And what does that place look like? So I love it. I love it a lot. Oh, you guys, too many. The winner got sacrificed. Oh no, played a soccer game, the winner gets sacrificed. Terrible. Nameless Spook says, thanks for showing the game. It's always good to see something different regardless if I ever play it or not. Me too. I'm an advocate of like showing off other people's creative spark. Even if I wouldn't play it, I like it. And here's the other thing. Even if I have a problem with the whole human sacrifice thing of this game, I still think it deserves to exist. You know, we live in a world where we want to police other people's experiences, and I think there's always space for this in our tabletop experiences. And so yeah. Yeah, human sacrifice is what TTRPGs were meant for all along. So we go to tunnels. Yeah, exactly. RPGs without human sacrifice are like taking a shower in a raincoat. What? Wow. That needs to be on a t-shirt. Oh shit. One Eye Heathen says, I didn't watch Apocalypto. I'm low vision, so the subtitles drive me nuts. Yeah. Oh yeah, because it's not in. Yeah, there are no English speaking words. Was there Spanish spoken? No, because the conquistadors hadn't landed their ships at the end. But yeah, but the movie ends with that. Spoiler alert, right? Yeah, really cool. Winner gets sacrificed, and if they play bad, both teams get sacrificed to atone for being a failure. It'd be annoying to you. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Although I would say that you could probably watch the movie without it, because there's another movie that had no English words in it, The Quest for Fire. It was a prehistory movie, not quite accurate, but it was about cave people and things like that, proto-humans, and The Quest for Fire, and that had no English in it either. By the way, isn't Christianity based on human sacrifice when it comes down to it? So RPGs without ripping hearts out and summoning demons would be like Christianity without Jesus getting nailed to a cross. Ouch. Yeah. We're gonna leave on that one, right? Yeah. We could be sometimes we human beings can be very what's a good term for it? Hypocritical. We could be hypocritical about the things we like and don't like. It's like, yeah, everything I'm about is good. Everything everyone else is about is terrible. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for letting me show this off. Heck, maybe tomorrow I might show off, like, I don't know, Thirsty Sword Lesbians or something like that. What a transition, right? Or maybe some other game. Maybe we'll do, you know what? We'll do a rundown of like not D&D games, like fantasy, but but it's not Dungeons and Dragons, that people might want to get into. I really enjoy watching films with subtitles. Reading is my favorite hobby, so I get the best of two worlds. Cannot imagine watching anime in dub. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on the dub, because I would prefer to hear it. A good story can still be understood if you can hear it in the flavor and context and emotionality, I guess. I use reading aids to read. Okay. The end of suffering for a cruel god. Yeah. Cool. Reminds me of Within the Ring of Fire, too, in the hands of angry gods. Wow. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for letting me show this off. The links are in the doobly-doo. Matter of fact, let me grab this. So if somebody copy, I'm going to throw this into the bottom of the chat. So if somebody gets this far along, bam. There we go. TSL is a great game. I don't know what that is. TSL. Oh, my brain, I can't, yeah. Thank you very much. Guys, have a great one, and peace. Bye.